morning, everyone. I hope you've been having a really wonderful week. I know here we've been having a lot of heat and that's been kind of wearing me out, but you know what? The air conditioning's good inside, right? So anyways, this morning, I've been having some interesting thoughts this week, and I was reading a book, and it kind of challenged me a little bit, so I thought I'd share with you some of my thoughts this morning about that. So I'm realizing how often through the day that I spend most of my time just like in the here and now. Which you say, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. That's what we're supposed to do. When I try to help somebody get through, say, anxiety or something like that, we try to focus on what's here and now because it grounds us. That is great. But it's also a place we can get stuck in. And so I was just kind of realizing how many times what I'm thinking during the day is solely tied on what I can see in this world. My thoughts, what's happening to me around me in this moment. And that's not always bad, but it's also pretty limiting when you think about it. So as I was reading this book, I kind of got challenged to look at myself and say, am I surviving but not thriving? So like I said, it's been a whole gamut this week of my thoughts kind of racing. So I hope you got a cup of coffee, buckle up. I'm ready with mine. So some of me wonders, how much power am I giving my own thoughts, my own abilities, and how much focus am I giving to God? Am I focusing on what went right today? On the little things that might have been God moments that I didn't even recognize? Do I look at small victories and go, oh, thank you, Jesus? Do I catch myself drifting? So technically, like I said, some of those focuses are good, but I feel like I've slipped into more of a here and now focus, which is solely focused on myself and my own power, what I can do, which I think might be kind of a miss. So, how do I focus myself back? How do I get back to, needing Him every hour? Like I said, this has caused me some time to think. How do I get back to needing Him every hour? Why did I stop needing Him every hour? Or stop realizing that I wasn't needing Him every hour? So I'm not currently in crisis. When I'm in crisis, I tend to focus more on what is actually important, like where my thoughts need to be. What do I need from Him today? But when I'm not in a crisis, do I put Him back on a shelf? I didn't stop reading my Bible. I still do that regularly. I spend time with Him. But do I need Him every hour? So that's the real question, I think. And so the book I mentioned, I'm not giving a plug for anybody, but this is just a book I was reading. So it's by Ted Dekker. It's called Blessed Child. And I spend a lot of time reading things for my work. So this is more of a escape from reality. It's a novel, something I don't have to think about. How can I apply this to my practice? And then here I am being challenged. So I ended up getting challenged in my thinking because there's a little boy in this story who's been sequestered in a monastery for his entire life. He's 10 years old. And the monk there, who he calls daddy, taught him to walk in the kingdom. And my first thought was, okay, yeah, that sounds legit, but what does that really mean? And the story kind of goes where, like, he was this well-rounded, very calm, quiet, happy little boy who had no experience with the outside world. Like, the monastery had been his whole life. Some may say, oh, that doesn't sound very good. He was a pretty happy kid. There was none of this outside stuff, this garbage bombarding him all the time. So story goes, he ends up in the United States, and again, being sequestered in a monastery for various reasons. But he ends up in a small room by himself, and he's still extremely healthy in both mind and body. And you think, oh my gosh, poor kid must have been claustrophobic. He must have been crawling the walls. No. as the book reads, he sits down on his bed and he closes his eyes and he takes a walk with his father, who is God. He takes a walk in the kingdom. He focuses his attention on things not of this world. There's a verse about that. We probably know what it is, but the story takes a twist. So his caregiver, who is out to get him, puts a TV on in the room, won't let him shut it off, like removes the on-off switch. The kid doesn't know how to run it, whatever, because she knows it will distract him and distress him. And you're like, well, that's a real jerk move. And he doesn't know what this box is. But all he knows is that he sees moving pictures, and the first thing he saw was something terrible, something so far away from what his understanding of walking in the kingdom might be like, that he's extremely distressed. And initially he is able to turn away, to keep his mind focused on where it needs to be. But inevitably, as we all do, we kind of get distracted and sucked in, and he ends up watching this TV more and more, and he loses his ability to enter that space where he connected with God. And I'm not here to say, oh, all TV is bad. No, absolutely. And this isn't about TV. This is about distraction. This is about, can we walk with God like that? In the Bible, we've heard multiple stories of people who were in prison, and were able to stay sane. I don't know how well I do with that, but Apostle Paul is your perfect example. Years in a dungeon, chained to guards, can't move, can't stand, can't pee by himself, probably sitting in sewage. What does he do? He writes letters to people on the outside who are messing up. They are free, but they are focusing on the wrong things. He is a prisoner, and he's focusing on what message God gave him that day. He's so focused on God. He is walking in the kingdom. That also gave me a little cause to think. What have I done when my life has been a mess and I've been one blink from a fountain of tears? I can tell you I was a whole lot closer to walking in the kingdom then than I was at the time when things are all good. Everything's wonderful. So this is a story. I'm giving the author some grace to spin the tale. But part of me wonders, can my mind take a walk into the Father's presence, and that he'll meet me every time that I approach? And so this boy has no trouble. He's not been distracted up to this time. He's perfectly content. I could feel the tie of being able to live in this world and have connections with people and love on them, but being also set apart. At least partially, in our minds, at least set apart. So is this why Jesus said, let the little children come to me? Part of me wonders, are they a whole lot closer to understanding this concept than I am? Do I kind of need to return to my childlike faith and innocence? Yeah, right. Most of us are thinking that. Yeah, life beat that out of me a long time ago, right? So we've become kind of cynical, which is probably not the greatest of things. But where God's concerned, can we drop that facade and just let him minister to us? Still working out this whole thing in my mind, because it's a little ambiguous, you know what I mean? Thinking of actually entering a kingdom or a space where God would like to meet me, and I can do it in my mind. That's still tough for me. So of course I turn to Google, right? And I look for verses that could shed some light on this. For those of you who want to know, I used keywords approach the Father when I looked for these verses. This is what I found. I'm also using the Message version because it feels like it has more current wording. So here's some scripture verses to you that might help us shed some light on this. So Hebrews 4:14 through 16. Now that we know what we have, Jesus, this great high priest, with ready access to God, let's not let it slip through our fingers. We don't have a priest who is out of touch with our reality. He's been through weakness and testing, experienced it all but sin. So let's walk right up to him and get what he's ready to give. Take the mercy, accept the help. I liked that version. Take the mercy, accept the help. Seems pretty simple, right? James 4:7-10. So let God work his will in you. Yell a loud no to the devil and watch him make himself scarce. Say a quiet yes to God and he'll be there in no time. Quit dabbling in sin. Purify your inner life. Quit playing the field. Hit bottom. Cry your eyes out. The fun and games are over. Get serious, really serious. Get down on your knees before the master. It's the only way you'll get on your feet. Get down on your knees. It's the only way you'll get on your feet. I like that as well. Hebrews 10:19-25. So friends, we can now without hesitation walk right up to God, into the holy place. Jesus has cleared the way by the blood of his sacrifice, acting as our priest before God. The curtain into God's presence is his body. So let's do it, full of belief, confident that we are presentable inside and out. Let's keep a firm grip on the promises that keep us going. He always keeps his word. Let's see how inventive we can be in encouraging love and helping out, not avoiding worshiping together as some do, but spurring each other on, especially as we see the big day approaching. It sounds to me that we can approach the throne and walk in the kingdom anytime we want. So I guess that's a question we kind of have to ask ourselves is how do I approach the throne? It sounds like it's mental, probably not a physical thing. But how do I be like this little boy and walk in the kingdom? For me, I feel like this has a bunch to do with how I approach each situation, how I encounter whether something difficult or something good, whichever, either at work or at home. Where do I pause and let Jesus speak to me so that I have his mind in whatever situation I'm addressing? It's an introspection and a quietness in my soul while I let Jesus speak words to me and through me. I almost feel like there can be a quietness about me that does not have to prove anything, but confidently lets Christ speak through me. So those are my thoughts. I hope you're encouraged today. I hope that gave you a cause to ponder, and can't wait to share something else with you next week.